Welcome back to another episode of Boom or Bust, the flagship episode of the channel. I'm your host, Terry, and today we are talking about the 23 quarterback prospects, a very intriguing class, I would say, especially when you compare it to last year's class, womp, 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 which always makes me laugh and will always make me laugh. And I'm not laughing at the players. Obviously they got opportunity to turn into something. They only been in the league 1 year, but I remember last season, as I remember many seasons, the draft seasons, I should say, the arguments. Oh my God. And whenever we have this mass, movement for something that I find myself on the other side of, and I get crap for it all off season. My fellow draft people, they know I'm gonna keep reminding them. But it was just interesting. As I keep saying, last year was one of the anomalies. So I've said before, if you follow this draft stuff, that I've noticed I can't. Carson Wentz comes to mind, but I feel like it was before that. It was. I'm thinking. You know who I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of the class with Matt Leinart, Vince Young, and I can't even remember that quarterback's name. I can't even remember the other quarterback. But that was since that moment. Just I've realized quarterbacks are going to get pushed up. And every year, the narrative starts one way, whether there's a top pick or there's a guy that's the best, but not a number one type pick. Whatever it is, they always get pushed up until last year, where we had the reverse, where everyone was like, this is not a good quarterback class, but these quarterbacks are all going in the first round. And I was like, I don't know. Now, to me, I wouldn't have been shocked if they went in the first round because, yes, quarterbacks get pushed up every year. And I didn't think those were prospects that deserved it. But sometimes you'll have a quarterback where you're like, they're like a top 15. Maybe I would take them at 20, back of the first round. And they're going. So if you're anywhere in the first round, you're going to go up high for the most part, unless it's a pack year. And so you just kind of accept that. But when you have prospects that I'm like, I would not touch them until the third round, it's a little hard to watch them go as high as the first round. But the NFL showed a little restraint because I know they know how to evaluate. For the most part, we know evaluating quarterbacks is hard, but for the most part, they know some of these quarterbacks that they've reached on in the prior years aren't they. That's not where they should go. It's just the value of the position people drool over a little more than others. And so it was a world where Matt Corral and Malik Willis and Ritter could have been in the first round. Didn't make any sense to me. And then to see it play out where, you only had Pickett and the rest of them dropped pretty far. I mean, think about it. Think about where Matt Corral was drafted to the Panthers, and people had him going to the Panthers at number 3 overall. So anyway, last year was an anomaly, but this year, these prospects are way, way, way better. I think legit first round prospects. And so with legit first round talent, you're more than likely going to see them get pushed up. So that's just how that goes. So when talking about evaluating quarterbacks, that's the one position, since you see it every play, everybody thinks they know, but also at the same time, you see so many misses, quote unquote misses. Here's the thing you got to realize, and I say it about a lot of positions, and quarterback is definitely one of the more high end ones. It depends on the scheme, not even just the scheme, but the supporting cast. The quarterback obviously needs to be in a situation that can help them thrive. And it's a concept that people understand when it's something that they're arguing for, or a player they're arguing for. But when it's a player they're arguing against, then all of a sudden they don't understand that, which I find funny because whenever someone's talking about a quarterback they like, they be like, oh no, he didn't have this, or this left guard was out, or this coach was calling all these plays and they didn't. But then it's a quarterback they don't like. They didn't say none of that. All they say, he sucked. He threw this. He threw these interceptions. He sucked all his career. Like, and so it's the same thing with a lot of stuff, but for the most part, we all understand the facts that you need a good situation. It's the same way that everybody's trying to claim these high level receivers are making these quarterbacks better. And I'm not saying a high level receiver doesn't make, help the quarterback, but I think people are doing a little bit too much causation when there's not really that there. So, yes, you want a good receiver, but there's a lot that goes into the quarterback. So it's kind of changed for me, actually. I actually kind of walked it back a little bit. And I think I see players like Justin Fields and other guys that this year really kind of opened my eyes to, hey, we can kind of scale back a little bit of the things that we've seen or the way we've evaluated quarterbacks over the year. And I think Josh Allen played a big role in that too. While, of course, right now, everybody's probably like, Josh Allen still ain't accurate, but no, people got short attention spans and mindsets. You have to really look at the film to remember Josh Allen's accuracy was buck wild when he came into the league. And so the reconstruction of his fundamentals and his mechanics, and they're not perfect, but they're far beyond what they used to be. Just that type of technology, that type of teaching and coaching that's out there. It used to be you didn't think a person could ever change their accuracy, and that's not necessarily true anymore. And while I don't think you can make huge leaps on your arm strength, there have been trainings within these last 5 years that can increase a little bit of that distance, if not the velocity. And so just different ways that people can evolve. And then to be honest, a lot of the schemes not this year, but just that are popular right now makes it easier for quarterbacks in general. So when I go into it, number one, and the hardest thing to gauge is the arm strength or the arm talent, whatever you want to call it. Same thing like everything else. Actually, this is the only quantitative one I have. Is level 1 through 5. And so Josh Allen obviously has a level 5 arm. You're talking about distance and velocity. So people can throw the ball far, but doesn't always mean they can throw the ball hard with velocity. And so it's kind of a mixture of those two things. And it's a little, and again, it's tough when you're watching kind of the I guess the broadcast footage that we have. And I would say on all 22, you could see it, not all 22, but on coach film, you could see it a little bit better. But really in person, that's where you kind of see it. And sometimes, if you slow down the video, and then you could kind of grasp how fast the ball is moving a little bit. But either way, you really have to work to kind of gauge what the arm talent is. And again, all of my evaluations used to be way more technique based than, physical talent. And I've walked that back on almost every position, but quarterback especially, like for me, I was just like, I wouldn't say I don't care if you have that big arm, but it wasn't a prerequisite for me. And I still don't think it's a prerequisite, but in order to reach a ceiling, it really is. I mean, you watch the quarterbacks that thrive, you watch the things you have to do in tough situations, which is the parts that matter. Having the arm strength is really what separates a lot of starters from backups and a lot of starters from stars. So it's not mandatory, but if you have just an average arm, it's really going to be hard for you. So that's the first thing that I look at. Then I kind of move to the pocket with a lot of college quarterbacks, it is sometimes pretty easy. You get guys like I talk about with the top guys at top programs that don't really ever have dirty pockets, and they get to sit back there as long as they want, and they don't have to do anything. Like in the pocket is it's a game within itself to be able to understand how to keep your feet active so that you're used to moving, to be able to step up and step into a throw and manipulate the pocket, to have the pocket sense of where the pressure's coming from, to have the toughness to stand there, throw, and take a hit. Like a lot of quarterbacks at big programs never have to deal with that, and so it's a big transition for them going into the league. And then from there, you start looking at the accuracy, which it takes time. You can't just watch one game or one drive and be like, okay, I know the accuracy. You got to see that quarterback in a lot of different situations, and really you want to see them in clean throws, because if you get a quarterback and you notice that every time the ball is off is when someone's in their face, or when they're on the move or something like that, then you could say, okay, it's their accuracy drops when they're not able to have clean mechanics. But if you notice they're having clean throws, or like clean pocket to make a throw, and they're still missing it, now that's kind of on them. And so it takes time. You got to see a lot of different scenarios. You kind of get a gauge of the accuracy. The deep ball, to be honest to you, is easier to me. I don't know if all the evaluators feel that way, but the deep ball you're going to see. And again, you want to see multiple times, but people are usually pretty consistent with what they are. Either you got an underthrower who doesn't have the arm, or the accuracy to put it in front of a receiver. You got an overthrower who's just really not using touch, just kind of chucking it down the field. Then you got guys that got great touch, which means that obviously on the deep ball, you're not throwing it like a laser or a bullet. You gotta arc it, and you gotta have it come down with the right timing. So there's guys with great touch where it's consistently in the right spot. And yeah, so it's just you got guys that are different throwers, and so that kind of, I think, plays itself out pretty quickly. And outside of that, then you're just really looking at some of the other intangible parts of the game, the decision making, understanding the situation, just are they forcing the ball, all those different things, how they take care of the ball, and certain, what decisions they make, you know what I mean? And then obviously reading the defense, I guess, would probably be high up there. And that, more than ever, I've noticed that now. It is very clear just by looking. You don't even have to have all 22. It is very clear by looking at how quickly they get the ball out and where their eyes go, if they know what's happening on the field. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't wait to make a play because nothing's open. But if you are consistently just sitting at the top of the pocket and you're waiting 5 seconds to throw or something like that, then that's not, I mean, unless you got a bad team where they're never open, or a bad scheme. Unless that's the case, it's clear that you don't understand. Now, again, I look at my quarterback, Justin Fields. I look at um, I look at Tua and Jalen Hurts and their leap this year. You can see the difference in Tua and Jalen Hurts. They're not staring down and then just kind of moving around to make a play, to extend the play. That was them last year. Now you can see that if this isn't open, and it might be two reads, because if I'm a coach and I'm drawing it up and coaching, my number one read is going to have something else in that same area right behind it. So it might be two reads. That's not there. Okay, boom, I'm going right here. And Tom Brady, obviously the master at that. Tom knows exactly where to go. And a lot of that is pre-snap for him, but he knows the plays. You can tell that there's quarterbacks that just don't know the plays. Like they do not understand the full concept versus the coverage that they're getting. Because if you know where all 4 or 5 people are going to be, whether you know the pre-snap or not, you look at this spot, you know there's coverage, there's people here, then you should know, okay, this area is going to be open, or I should look in that area. And there's quarterbacks that never do. They never even go there. And not even quickly, they never even look that way because they focused on one part of the field and they're only locked in on those routes. And so that you can kind of pick up quickly. But yeah, it's a lot of different things. Obviously, how they throw on the run, if the accuracy is good. Most of these quarterbacks can throw on the run. Most of the quarterbacks these days are pretty good at throwing on the run. And then, are they under center? Are they running a spread? Are they doing pro concepts? All those things. But there's a lot of spread concepts in the NFL now, so that's not as big of a thing. But obviously, you don't want. I wouldn't say you don't want. If you get a quarterback that has only had to do one read plays, obviously there's going to be some development there. So anyway, let's quickly go through. This is just in the list or in the order that I watched them. This isn't a ranking or anything. All right, so we got Bryce Young from Alabama. A lot of people consider the number one. I gave him a level 4.5 arm, and I think he's a real, not real. I think he's a great quarterback prospect. And to be honest, I'm not exactly sure on his arm. I went between level 4 and level 4.5, and I'll continue to watch in the combine and stuff and really see. But he has excellent release. The ball really flies out of his hands, so that kind of adds to it. So whether he's a 4 or 4.5, he's definitely not a 5, but he really has a great release. So the ball comes out fast, which adds a little bit to his ability to get the ball out. And then I like his throwing mechanics and everything like that. And then I don't think there's too many quarterbacks with great lower body mechanics. So that part needs to be worked out because eventually, like I talked about with Josh Allen and many other quarterbacks, you have to learn to tie your feet to your upper body. You just have to. They have to move in concert. And in order for you to completely control the accuracy and tempo of your throw. So I think his lower body mechanics are average. Again, Alabama, not a lot of dirty pockets, really just kind of set there. Now, you're talking about a guy who is probably going to test out as a great athlete, if not just one very elusive athlete. So if he needs to break out of the pocket or roll out or whatever, he's quick to do it. But as far as just pocket play, feet aren't really moving. He's just kind of standing there at the top of the drop and making his throw. And you won't be able to do that more than likely in the league. So you gotta, I think, as far as manipulation, pocket manipulation, pocket awareness, all of that, he's going to have to improve on all those areas. But throwing through contact and under pressure, I thought he was really strong at. I don't think he, was afraid. Throwing on the run, I thought he was great. And overall, I thought his accuracy was great. He really showed to be a quarterback, again, that's not running around to extend plays every play. He's a guy that can read through the progression and he makes decisions pretty quickly. So, again, you feel like he knows where the ball is going. And he rarely forces it to one person. And that's another tip. Like the ball is getting distributed to all these targets. So you really watch him and feel like he has, I wouldn't say a mastery, but at least a great understanding of what's going on as far as the offense. And then his decision making was great. And like I said, his accuracy, actually I underplayed his accuracy was some of the best that I've seen in a long time. Now, to be quite honest with you, the quarterbacks that I'm thinking of that had great accuracy have not had great NFL careers. I won't mention them, but they have had great accuracy in college. And so Bryce Young, again, you look at where the ball is. First of all, the ball is in a consistent place. Second is in the hands of the receivers, rarely behind them, like in their hand, like right in their hands. So that shows you he's throwing with anticipation. He's putting the ball where the receiver's going to be, and again, he has control of his ball location. And his deep ball, I think he had great accuracy as well with great touch. And so, yeah, overall, I feel like the people that look at him, you're going to look at the size, and that's what you're going to wonder. 194, and if he measures at 6 feet, is that a quarterback that you feel like long term can hold up? The pocket, how well will he deal with pressure? Because he didn't have to deal with it a lot. And then to be honest, I think for Alabama, they just had a lot of wide open receivers. And I'm not saying every throw he made was wide open, but they had a lot of wide open receivers. So throwing into tight windows, throwing into a layered window, how will he do with that? That's another thing we'll have to see. CJ Stroud out of Ohio State. I gave him a level 5 arm, and part of me feels like I need to increase the scale because I always think about the max. I'm like, if that's a level 5, then what's this? Because Josh Allen probably has one of the biggest arms I've ever seen. Then Mahomes is up there too. And so I would definitely say Stroud has a level 5 arm. Maybe Mahomes and Allen got a level 6 and 7 or something. But Stroud, man, and the thing about him is easy gas, as they say. Is not a lot of force. To be honest, his lower body mechanics are not great. So it's not a lot of force in it. It's just naturally he flicks the ball and it goes flying. So he's got a big arm in terms of putting it down the field and throwing with like real rocket velocity. So there's that. So I like his throwing mechanics. I think he's a solid athlete for a quarterback. I think people might be getting a little spoiled with the quarterbacks we have. I know I heard people talk about prior to the playoff game this year that he didn't have that part of his game. But to me, if you're a good athlete, you can do it. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, you might not be running back type when you get in the open field, but as far as being an effective scrambler at the quarterback position, I think he's perfectly fine. I like his release too. Like I said, the ball comes out quick. Same pocket issues as I talked about with Bryce, just not a lot of dirty pockets. Didn't have to really do much. So we gotta find out what his ability to do that is at the next level. No problem throwing under pressure, stands in tall, takes the hit. Um, with his progression, I don't think he was as decisive as Bryce Young, but he got through his progressions, I would say, at a very good rate compared to other quarterbacks, and he can get to a third option. I think that would be like a last second thing. Now in the NFL, I think he will have to, speed things up because he won't have as much time as he did at Ohio State. Didn't force a lot. I liked his decision making. Sometimes I think he will have a little big arm syndrome. So when I say big arm syndrome, that means number one, not using good mechanics. So we've seen quarterbacks, Mahomes too, falling or whatever and just making a throw because they know they got a big arm, but also not realizing that their accuracy is going to dip. And then number two, which probably is more important, forcing the ball into tight windows, thinking that your arm is bigger than what it is. And not to say his arm is not big, but big arm syndrome plays up at the wrong time. So there's that. Uh, and then his accuracy, to me, I think is good. I think I put very good for short, medium accuracy. I do think he's better when the pocket is clean. Like again, if he's not if he's on a move or any not on a move necessarily, but you know what I mean. If he's having to step up and throw, I don't think it's the same. Now, part of that is he needs to clean up his lower body mechanics. And I think if you put those two together with his arm, I mean, he'll be at like some of the best things you've seen from Josh Allen in terms of pocket play. I think that's what Stroud could be. It's just a matter, can he get there and can he do it consistently? Um, yeah, I think, like I said, his accuracy fluctuated a little bit to me. Um, and he misses high, like really high. So those quarterbacks I don't have too big of a problem with, because if you're gonna miss in a space where no one can get it. But again, that's that lower body, that weight transfer part where you really gotta work to tie your lower body. Will Levis out of Kentucky is an interesting case. I definitely don't think, I wouldn't even say he's not as good to me as other people have talked about. I would say he's much more of a project to me than what other people have talked about. You're talking about a guy, and I end up giving him a level 4 arm, but I was flirting with 3.5. There are times where he pushes the ball. Um, I wouldn't say down the field, but as far as velocity, he can throw a nice ball in certain areas, but I don't know if that translates all over the field, especially to the outside, of course, where you need the most amount of velocity when you're throwing outside routes. But there's a lot, especially his deep ball, that makes me question how big his arm is. A lot of people are saying he has a cannon and all that. I don't think so. I think really out of the quarterbacks that I watch, he might be at the bottom or tied for the bottom. I don't believe uh, his arm is that big. Now, one thing that is going to be interesting for Levis is that he does run a pro style offense, very similar. I believe one of their coaches, I don't remember if he's the OC or what, was a San Fran QB coach, and so they run an offense very Shanahan type, not like San Fran, but like the Sean McVay, LaFleur. We see it a lot. A lot of play action, bootlegs, a lot of work on the center. So he did run that pro style at Kentucky, so that's a big leg up in terms of a learning curve. Excuse me. We'll see what he tests. I don't think he's super fast, but they ran him a lot. Again, he's 6'3", 232, so a lot of Josh Allen comparisons. He takes off. They have quarterback runs. They like to sneak it, short yardage quarterback, all that. So you're going to see very big similarities. And I think he's an okay athlete. I don't think he's anything special, but some probably could say Josh Allen isn't either. So he has a little bit of a sidearm, a little bit of baseball throwing with his mechanics, and I don't get too hung up as I used to in terms of like where your arm is and how you throw it. But you do just gotta understand the launch angles from when someone throws like that. It's gonna be easier because if the arm is more to the side, the trajectory is going to be different. It's going to be easier to bat those balls and things like that. Lower body mechanics are terrible. I mean, I would say just as bad as the other two. Not going to make it seem like he is, real bad, but I mean, they're all pretty bad. So he needs to fix that. Now his pocket game, I think, is a lot more advanced. He has obviously had to throw in the pocket a lot with the offense they had. Now he's got good elusiveness. He's going to be hard to tackle. His feet are kind of bouncing. I like that. And so he's always ready to move, but he's more ready to take off than he is to step up in the pocket and make a throw. So awareness, manipulation, I put as average. But he did, like I said, he showed that ability at some point to climb the pocket, make a throw. But most of the time, he's trying to roll out or take off and scramble. Um, and then to me, when he had pressure or when he was throwing through contact, he almost never completed the pass from the stuff that I saw. So his accuracy really kind of dips when he gets hit. Same thing when he's throwing on a run. I've seen him a few times trying to make Josh Allen plays. Josh likes to roll to the right, throw back across the field, things like that. Seen him try to attempt that a few times. Did not go well at all. His accuracy is just not great when he isn't able to stand and deliver, at least, again, from the stuff that I saw. So that means his accuracy is really inconsistent, and he's been a lot better with the crossing stuff, the horizontal stuff, and the things that are over the middle of the field. And as far as his decision making and everything, I do think he has that more old, which is funny. He's in a pro offense, but I think he has that old school spread mentality. Kind of stares down his first target, then he wants to extend the play. Sometimes he'll take off, sometimes he'll just run around and buy time. And I don't like his decision making, much like Josh Allen, some people would say. Decision making, very questionable at times. I would say it's average, and some of the, I really think he tries to be Josh Allen a little too much, and he does not have Josh Allen ability. The short, medium accuracy, like I said, is pretty good. When it's between the numbers, I think that's when he's best. When it's quick and he could put it on him like a curl, a hitch, a drag, whatever. But again, once he starts moving, once things go downfield, once things go outside, that's when it's not great. Really did not love his deep ball accuracy, and the part of it is he underthrew the ball almost all the time, and that's a bad sign. Like I said, I mean, you don't want bad deep ball accuracy, period. But some people would tell you they would rather have somebody that overthrows than underthrows. So he just didn't have a great hit rate. I mean, I think he's a bit of a gamer. Interesting prospect, some tools there, but I think he's definitely going to be a project, more of a boomer bust type guy. So then we go to Anthony Richardson out of Florida, 6'4", 232. They list him at. You know, honestly, I didn't feel like he was 6'4" when I was watching him. We'll see. I mean, those are excellent measurables if he is, but I feel like he's going to be more like 6'2" and some change. But we'll see. But I gave him a level 5 arm, pure spread offense, pistol, all that good stuff. So rarely under center, but you're talking about a great runner, man. You're talking about a great runner. This prospect is going to remind a lot of people of Jalen Hurts. Um, Definitely, I think when you think about Oklahoma, some similar gameplay, but his top end speed is different than Jalen Hurts. His top end speed is way different. So you're talking about a guy again that's 232, might play heavy or whatever, but his movement skills are great. He can move around, and then he can really run tough, and he can really pick up some speed when he gets in the open field. Throwing mechanics, I think he's a little bit sidearm. They're okay. Now his lower body mechanics, interestingly enough, were really strong to me. Um, Rarely did I ever see him throwing off platform in terms of when he didn't have to. A lot of quarterbacks like to lift their leg. That's one of the things you'll see on film that kind of gives you a quick tip to how they're tying their feet, because you don't want your feet leaving the ground. Obviously, you know, in physics, you have to have those feet planted to the ground. That's the best way to transfer that power and everything. So I liked his feet, or his lower body mechanics, and I really liked him in the pocket, which I was kind of shocked, especially for a spread team. Um, he's really quick to react. Like I said, he'll take off and scramble a good amount of time, but his feet are active. They're ready to move. I really loved his awareness. You got those quarterbacks that kind of, as they say, had a spidey sense, but you could tell he understands spatial awareness. He really knows kind of where he is and where to go. His manipulation, I put good. I think it's a great start for where most quarterbacks are, but he's got a lot to go. But the times that he did have to step up in the pocket or move around the pocket and make a throw, he was able to. And he looked pretty good doing it. He didn't always complete the pass, but he definitely understands the mechanics of it. And then obviously pretty elusive. I mean, I put great elusiveness in the pocket because it's going to be hard to tackle him. Thrower on the run, I put average. His accuracy kind of switches up a little bit. Reading through the progression, I put average, but again, he usually is scrambling or trying to extend the play. I didn't love his decision making, kind of plays hero ball. Great at extending the play, but you know, you expect that. And to be honest with you, his accuracy was below average to me. And that is going to be the real question, because there's a lot of tools that you like, but accuracy obviously is a big thing. And it hasn't stopped a lot of teams in the past, but I'm not sure exactly what it is without having more film and time to dive into it, but especially with how well he keeps his lower body mechanics together. But that man throws so many incompletions. And, part of it I do think is his vision and progression. I think that's the biggest part. And then the other part is going to be the scheme. Are you going to scheme up again these horizontal offenses where these guys can get more wide open receivers or obvious looks? And so I think he'll need a lot of help in that department. But man, he threw a lot of incomplete passes. Um, then last one we got is Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee. I don't think he's everybody's fifth, but I noticed him while watching the tackle at Tennessee, and I really enjoyed what I watched. Now, the biggest thing about him is that his arm, I gave him a 3.5. And I think he's plenty effective with what he has to do, but he's definitely not going to light it up with his arm talent. And again, like I said, for some people, they're going to look at that as a prerequisite. I don't necessarily feel that way. He's definitely one of those quarterbacks that I think about in the league, a number of them, where they can be effective in the right situation. They're not all the good quarterbacks or all the effective quarterbacks, they're not all electric arm throwers. Some of them just have good skills elsewhere and they got a good situation. But I think he's an effective scrambler, very effective, so he can be mobile. He can do, yeah, I would say pretty much anything. You're not going to have a run game through him, but he could do anything you need as a scrambler. Really good. I put very good throwing mechanics. A little bit of a wind up, but good throwing mechanics, good release. I like the velocity with the ball coming out. I like his lower body mechanics. I feel like I don't think they're great, but I think they're really solid. I feel like he throws with a nice rhythm. That's the one thing I think about whenever I watch him. He really throws with a nice rhythm, whether it's in the pocket, off of play action, off the shotgun. It all just kind of feels connected. And so there's that. I like him in the pocket. He's one of those players that had to do that, and so I think he's got good awareness. Again, very good manipulation, above average elusiveness. He's definitely a strider. He's not explosive, so it takes time for him to speed up in the open field. But in the pocket, I think for the most part, he's an easy person to take down. And great ability to throw against pressure, man. He made some big time throws while getting hit. And I think it was against Alabama was the first time I noticed him. And I was just like, man, you don't see a lot of college quarterbacks make that throw. So he is super calm in the pocket, and seems to be very happy throwing from there. And I think that can always be valuable. Very good ability to read through progression, can, go through the entire progression. I gave him great decision making. Usually he's pretty quick. He can scan the field. He can extend the play when he needs to. He doesn't force a lot of passes. So I think he's just a real veteran guy. He's a guy that was played 4 years, 2 years VTech, 2 years in Tennessee. And then very good accuracy, both deep and over the middle. And I think he has really good anticipation and touch on his throws. And just overall, I thought he operated that offense really efficiently and just really professionally. Like just the entire thing. Like you hear people talk about the operation, and that's part of it. The motions, getting the play set up, getting the formation set up, telling people where to be, reminding them, and all that, getting the snap out. I just think he did a great job at that. So more than likely won't make it to the first round, but I think he'll be a really solid pickup. Reminds me a lot of Geno Smith and how he played this year. And then the last thing I'll say, so I'm skipping the running backs for this first round eval. I'll look at them the second round. And it's hard, man. It's a difficult thing. This could be an hour discussion, but the running back position is different, man. I think for any evaluators, you kind of just throw your hands up, because it's not that these running backs are bad or whatever. And to be honest, it's always kind of been like this, but now it's getting ridiculous. It just matters where they go. And we can say that about most positions, but like I said, This is one of the most scheme dependent and context dependent positions there is. Where you go matters. You can be a 7th round pick, Pacheco, or whatever you did in college, playing different positions, being a returner, whatever, and you go to the Chiefs and they decide to coach you up and tell you to do this, you can be successful, man. So like the whole projection and all that, it's just it really just comes down to physical ability. And I'm not trying to knock the vision and all of that, because I do think, the position has its skill set as well. But a lot of it, 90% of it, comes down to the physical ability. And if you got that ability and you put on a team that can put you in that position, you can do well. You can be effective. Is there a difference between someone that can be an MVP? Well, no one can be MVP now, but that can be an all-pro running back. Is there a difference between them and people that are Pro Bowlers or, have a 10-year career? I'm sure there are. But when you're talking about being effective, that range goes from 2nd round to 7th round to undrafted free agent. I mean, anybody can be effective. So running backs have become dime a dozen a long time ago, but man, it's deep now. So I just do not have a lot of time this semester, and so I chose to skip out on that for this first round. So that's where I'm at. Anyway, thank you for listening. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.